What's playing at the Roxy? I'll tell you what's playing at the Roxy. Picture about a Minnesota man so in love with a Mississippi girl he sacrifices everything and moves all the way to Biloxi. That's what's playing at the Roxy. What do you mean it's Brian Wilson? It's been how long? 25 years? We better look into this, huh? Hello Brian Wilson fans, and welcome back again. I was so happy when my Brian Wilson Live at the Roxy CD and LP box set arrived yesterday. Figured better take a quick look at those, unbox them, show you what's inside, give you sort of my first thoughts. I haven't dug too deeply into them yet. I've only listened to the CDs and only a couple times with my headphones on. Have to break into the LPs here a little bit later. But you might remember, this is one of 3 live albums that Brian Wilson did. Here's a reissue from 2001 or so of the CD version of the original album. Brian Wilson also did 2 very underrated live albums that don't get talked about enough. Pet Sounds Live and the often unjustly forgotten Brian Wilson and Friends. But I would argue that the Roxy album is probably his biggest sort of live, I guess, contribution. It's the one most people tend to own, most people tend to remember. Some tracks from it even made it into the Brian compilation album anthology. We'll get back to that a little bit later. But I thought, you know what, when this was announced as a special 25th anniversary sort of reissue with bonus tracks and kind of compiling all the stray tracks that had accumulated over the years, I thought, you know what, definitely worth the purchase. So let's take a look first at the CD set, and I'll go over what's inside the vinyl box later, though I haven't listened to it yet. If you bought this set, let me know what you think in the comments below, what your favorites are, things you would have kept or gotten rid of or changed. Let's take a look. So we have the sort of cardboard sleeve that unfolds, that sort of design. I'm not a big fan of this sort of packaging, but that's kind of what you get now. Somewhere here I have, the Beach Boys Sounds of Summer reissue. It was done in a very similar way. So I took the discs out of there. I put them in cases. So here's the first disc in blue, second disc in orange. The original was 2 discs as well, but the tracks are broken up differently. We'll come to that in a second. And in the center was the booklet. So I'll show you the booklet real quick. We have Brian's original sort of thank you message for all the people who helped him with the project. It also includes the musicians' credits. David Leaf, author extraordinaire. You might have recognized several of his Beach Boys books. He wrote both the original notes for the first Live at the Roxy issue back in 2000. See there it says, David Leaf, Spring 2000. He ends with a famous line, "It doesn't get any better." And then he also wrote the new set for this album, which is near the back of the CD booklet, saying that it doesn't get any better. Wasn't quite true. Brian did a lot of great stuff between the year 2000 and his unfortunate passing. Now we get some photos here, and interestingly, one of those photos is of the paper set lists that are actually, hung up, or not hung up maybe, but sometimes pasted on the floor for the musicians to look at to see what order the concert's going in. If you've watched any of my concert reviews, I always try to snag one of those, that kind of thing. But interestingly, there are 3 songs from Live at the Roxy that have never been widely released. In fact, I think they only exist as bootlegs, if even there. Brian doing Surfin' USA, not included here or anywhere else, and 2 of his solo tracks, Imagination and South American, both of which I believe are from the Imagination album. Yes, they are. Your Imagination and South Americans. These were done at that particular show, but they are not available here. The bonus tracks and things, they are from different concerts. Alright, put that one back. I'll show you the little photo collage again. But everything else on those papers is indeed included in this set. We get to the actual track list there. So the original CD has 15 songs on disc 1, and then usually 13, sometimes more on disc 2. We'll come back to this in a second here. But the concert's kind of split in half. the band intro, where Brian introduces, or all the musicians I should say, get introduced, and they do a little impromptu Bare Naked Ladies cover of Brian Wilson. Lying in bed like Brian Wilson. That was used as kind of the halfway point. This is a little bit different though. Here we have 25 tracks on the first disc. There's one slight difference, which I'll come back to in a moment. And we have 15 on the second disc. Only 9 of them are from the Roxy show. The remainder are all for either Brian's interview, which again we'll come back to that in a second, or the 5 sort of bonus tracks. So originally, Live at the Roxy was released with 13 songs on that second disc, Love and Mercy being the big finale. I have a reissue, a pretty early reissue. It includes, as a bonus little bit at the end, Sloop John B., Barbara Ann, and Interview with Brian. So that wasn't on every release. Now if you lived in the UK, or some parts of Europe, you might also have gotten some extra bonus tracks. You might have gotten, let's see, Sloop John B., Barbara Ann, Wouldn't It Be Nice, Help Me Rhonda, and Fun Fun Fun, as well as an Interview with Brian track as well. So that was, I think, one of the issues with Live at the Roxy. If you watch my video series with Jamie Brewster, where we mini-review all of Brian's albums, that was one thing that came up in discussion of Brian's albums in general, is a lot of them have different releases in different places, with different track lists and different bonus tracks and so on and so forth. And that makes it kind of confusing and really hard to be a Brian completist or a Brian perfectionist. So now, everything that could possibly have been a bonus track on the original release is now available on the new set. So it doesn't matter if you have the original, a first reissue like mine, or one of those European copies, we've got it all. And that is so good too, because I love the versions he does of Help Me Rhonda and Barbara Ann. It's a really good, kind of a big finale. It's a lot of fun. So no worries there if you don't have the best version of the original Live at the Roxy. I think you'll enjoy this one just as much. And then we come to, of course, sort of the finale of it here. We have the 5 bonus tracks: Let It Shine, Drive-In, Soul Searchin', Southern California, and Johnny Be Good. Let It Shine's a pretty popular track of Brian. I think it's actually on the Smith. One of his probably better known songs. Interestingly enough, when I was looking at reviews of this set, a lot of people didn't like this recording of Let It Shine because the vocals are very strange, and the consensus is they're either studio vocals that were laid over the live instrumental, or they're pulled from multiple sources and kind of combined. It definitely does sound a little bit weird because Brian's voice kind of like shifts and changes a lot during the song. It feels to me like they're piecing at least a couple different things together, but yeah, that definitely kind of took away from it. A little bit of a weird editing, mixing thing going on there, which is a shame because Let It Shine's a beautiful song. You might remember similar criticism was levied against Feel Flows, where supposedly things like the live version of Back Home mixed in a lot of studio elements. But the Beach Boys mixing studio and live stuff, that goes all the way back to 1964. It's kind of what I think to expect to some degree. We have a really fun version of Drive-In, which is included as a bonus track as well. Has a little bit of auto-tune. Seems to be the consensus, but honestly I enjoyed that one because I love the song Drivin'. We have Soul Searchin'. Brian did that for Getting In Over My Head. The Beach Boys version would be released in 2013 on Made in California. It's a really fun live version, and honestly I wasn't bothered by the mixing or the editing or anything like that too much. I thought it sounded pretty good. We have Southern California. That's the big finale to That Lucky Old Sun Who Rolls Around Heaven All Day. Southern California does have some mixing problems, especially at the end. The big crescendo just sounds kind of like a wall of muddled noise. I don't think they either mixed it right or it just didn't record well. I think that would be a hard song to do live. And we have a very rousing version of Johnny Be Good. Now it does say where all these recordings are from, but the font's pretty teeny tiny. When we get to the vinyl version, I'll talk more about that, because the vinyl version, of course, everything's blown up to a larger font size. You can kind of see what's going on. I like the version of Johnny Be Good. A lot of people said they had issues with the clipping. I didn't notice the clipping too much, though. And then, lastly, the interview with Brian is moved to the very end. I think every version of Live at the Roxy features it as the final track. Now, if you do a side-by-side track list comparison, things are basically the same. Little Girl I Once Knew, intro. Those sessions have also popped up on Hawthorne, California, which would have been coming out around that time. Little Girl I Once Knew. This Whole World, Don't Worry Baby, Kiss Me Baby, Do It Again, California Girls. Here we have really the only track list difference within the album itself. There's a track called How Many Cigarette Lighters? Is that some kind of weird avant-garde collaboration with Van Dyke Parks or Andy Paley? Nope, that is some banter from the concert. It's just now separated from the California Girls song and plays as the next track. It's a longer bit with Brian asking everyone who has a cigarette lighter to hold it up and light it and then put it out, that kind of thing. It's a little gag. Brian could do some really funny gags and banter. Not as good, I think, as he is on the Pet Sounds live set, where he does some really funny bits. Like, you can close your eyes during this song if you want to. You don't have to, but if you want to. Or, I bet you I can yell louder than you. If you can yell louder than me, I'll give you all a dime. And everybody yells. He says, oh, it was a tie. That kind of thing. I like those a little bit more, but he is funny at the Roxy, too. Brian, I think, had such a warm sense of humor, and sometimes we forget about that. But yeah, if you looked at the track list and wondered why it's a little bit different, it's that How Many Cigarette Lighters is taken off of California Girls and plugged in there. When it comes to live banter and song intros and things, every Beach Boys live project or Beach Boys adjacent live project is a little bit different. Songs from Here and Back separates them. Live at Carnegie Hall includes them. Beach Boys in Concert edits all of them out. You never know what you're going to get. But don't feel like you're missing a song if you don't have this CD. And we have I Get Around, Back Home, In My Room, Surfer Girl, The First Time, and This Isn't Love. Those are the two never done in studio that I'm aware of. If they were, they weren't on a Brian Wilson album. Those two were included here on the anthology set. Of course, This Isn't Love is best remembered as the theme song from the Flintstones' Viva Rock Vegas. This isn't love, this is destiny. Add some music to your day, please let me wonder. And this is where the original CD would have switched over to the other disc, but we keep going here. Band intro, the Bare Naked Ladies, Brian Wilson. Just a fragment, I don't think Brian ever did the whole song. Till I Die, Darlin', Let's Go Away for a While, Pet Sounds, God Only Knows, Lay Down Burden, and Be My Baby. Overall, I think things sound pretty good too. The little clipping things and weird editing things with the bonus tracks, I don't notice them so much on the CDs for the actual core album. Again, could just be me. I've only listened to CDs with headphones too, so you never really know. Disc 2, Good Vibrations, Caroline No, All Summer Long, and Love and Mercy. And all those bonus tracks, Luke John B, Barbara Ann, Wouldn't It Be Nice, so on, up through the other bonus. So, pretty cool stuff. Again, not a huge fan of the cardboard packages, but they're kind of the norm now. Booklet's nice. I like that we get the original notes and the updated ones as well, and that David Leaf did both of them. And I think the discs look pretty cool. We got orange and blue, just like Feel Flows. So now let's take a look at what's inside that vinyl box, shall we? Haven't listened to these yet, but it does look pretty darn exciting. Brian Wilson's Live at the Roxy on vinyl. Now, you might notice there are a few things missing. We only have 2 of those 5 bonus tracks. We have Soul Searcher in Southern California, No Fun Fun Fun, and no interview with Brian. But most everything else is there and in the same order and everything like that. So if you didn't buy the CD, you just went with the record, you're not missing a ton of content, just a little bit here and there. I'll have to go back and give you the dates for those bonus tracks. I forgot that not all of them were in here when filming the last part of the video, so sorry about that. So we have a lift-off top. I thought for sure it would be kind of a fat box that then you slid all the records out the side, but that's not the case. Get our Brian Wilson Live at the Roxy official poster. Give you a second to look at that there. April 7th and 8th, 2000. Brian Wilson on the Sunset Strip. Very nice. I'm hanging this up somewhere in my house. I'm not sure where yet. Glad we get something there that's tangible and fun. Alrighty. Record 1. See the 1 down there in the corner. Brian Wilson Live at the Roxy. Gatefold, nope. So just front and back. Give you a second to take a look at that if you want to see it there. This has Brian's blurb from the original Roxy album, which of course was republished here. So apparently there were special kind of colorful splatter records, but I bought the plain red, white, and blue ones. I'm not sure if the splatters were done through Brian's website or if some particular record company put them out. They looked pretty cool, but I like one being in red, one being in white, one being in blue. I know Brian's website did put some goodie packages out, but I don't buy from Brian's website generally because I got ripped off once when they were doing a vendor change. I never got the things that I ordered. There it goes. So I don't buy from them anymore, but otherwise I would have gotten one of the big special bundles. Yeah, this looks really nice, and this will take us through about half the first disc, roughly. Yeah, I like that we get the pictures of all the musicians up there, several of whom I've met. Alright, record number 2. I don't want to come out too easily. Got the marquee up there. Roxy, pretty nice. This one's got David Leaf's original blurb from 2000 on the back. Pretty cool there. And this would take us up through the end of the first CD. Take out the record. This one is on sparkly white vinyl. Very nice. These feel pretty sturdy too. Those Feel Flows colorful vinyl records are so thin, I'm almost afraid to touch them. So I like that we get something that feels a little bit higher quality, a little bit sturdier. And it's not too hard to get them back in the sleeve either, which is always a win. And lastly, oops, in our third record, if it'll come out, this has David Leaf's new blurb on the back. And this will take us up through that second disc and some of the bonus tracks here. Very, very nice. I'll show you the record. We'll go over the dates for those bonus tracks, and I think that'll be about all she wrote. So if you get this set, make sure you comment some things that you like. Please forgive the traffic noise. And if you can hear the rain, please forgive that too. And the original cover for the CD. And good stuff with Brian Company on the back. Soul Searchin', recorded at Royce Hall, UCLA, October the 3rd, 2003. Southern California, recorded at Wiltern Theater, January the 28th, 2009. I will read off the remainder of the bonus tracks. Oh, let's see. Let It Shine. According to this, recorded at BB King's in New York City, November 19th, 2002. Drive-In, recorded at Center Staging in Burbank, California, September the 2nd, 2004. And Johnny B. Good, Royce Hall, UCLA, November the 1st, 2006. So all kind of what my good friend Steve Lewis would call the orphan live tracks. All kind of just stuff from all over the place. But you get almost the full Roxy concert and all of the previously released Roxy bonus tracks. Had a lot of fun with this release. And we have plenty more fun videos to come, including a follow-up on Beach Boys Party Uncovered and Unplugged, a look at the Polaris album, and some more new stuff coming out with Laurel and Hardy and Alfred Hitchcock throughout the end of 2025. So hope you'll join me for all of those. Till then, my friends, love and mercy.